Hi, I'm Ann Miriam Budner. I am on the staff at Main Point Books in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, and I was on the Indies Introduce team that selected Martin Seay's wonderful debut, The Mirror Thief, for inclusion on the list. So wonderful to welcome you here.
Thank
Martin.
you so much. I'm so pleased to be here.
Well, it's great. It's a novel that's incredibly complex and yet incredibly readable, and I'd like to get a better sense of what you sort of see as your primary models and influences and what you were trying to evoke for people.
I in an odd way, I think I was inspired by novels that I admire a lot and have not succeeded in finishing. I often find myself inspired by the idea of books more than the actual practice of reading them. I have yet to make it through an Umberto Eco novel, so I think I sort of, in some ways, set out to write what I thought an Umberto Eco novel might be like if I could finish one.
I think you're kind of on the mark there.
Enjoyed what I've read, but just haven't made it through yet. I read a lot of Raymond Chandler, particularly for the sections that are set in Southern California in 1958. It was helpful to have that under my belt. A bunch of honorable crime fiction for the 2003 sections, I don't. By the time I had gotten to the sections that are set in 1592, I think the book was just sort of running itself at that point. Honestly, the thing that I went back to more often than anything else for the language in that section was Shakespeare, just because it would have been contemporaneous with the time. So, I think I wanted to create an experience of reading that gave the reader a lot of stuff to play with, a lot of ideas, a lot of characters, and a lot of freedom to do things with those ideas.
Just to backtrack for a second,
Sure.
The novel is set in 3 streams that run in a sequence. So you go 2003, you go 1958, 57, 58, and then you go back to 1592, and then you go back to 2003, and they're all set in versions of Venice, and sort of interesting reflected versions of Venice.
Exactly right.
Talk to me about why you decided to do that.
I had wanted to write something about Venice for a long time, just because it's strange and it's both unlike any place else in the world and a place that keeps showing up elsewhere other than the Adriatic Sea. People keep trying to build it elsewhere. And I thought that was interesting. And then I came across a book. I worked as a bookseller for a number of years, and at some point was shelving a book called The Mirror by an author named Sabine Melchior-Barnet. And paging through it, learned about the fact that the city-state of Venice had a monopoly, virtual monopoly, on flat glass mirrors for a little under 200 years, from about 1500 to about 1700. And it was a thing that I did not know about Venice, that I knew that they made mirrors, but I didn't realize what a tremendous rearranging of the economy of Europe resulted from that. And I started to think about the mirror as a technology in the way that when you admit that technology to the culture, the way people change as a result, when they can see themselves not only like to shave, but in a social space where they can see how other people perceive them filling up a room. And so the idea of the mirror and the idea of this peculiar characteristics of Venice just began to speak to each other and wound me up with where I wound up. So.
There are soldiers of fortune that sort of thread through different places. And did you think of the characters in 2003 and 1592 as being sort of cognates of each other?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly right. Yeah, I wanted to try to convey the sense that they might be acting out multiverse versions of each other's narratives. So that's a perceptive observation. So.
Oh, good, because I kind of got that, but I was like, okay, am I off the wall here?
No, you're absolutely right.
But it's really, and I think also, I read on your blog at one point that you did a very long piece about sort of building tension in genre novels, particularly mystery novels, probably as a consequence of the reading that you did for this book.
Yeah, to a great extent.
What kinds of lessons did you try to bring into The Mirror Thief that sort of exemplify the kinds of techniques that you saw some of the classics use?
I think one of my one of my favorite novels of all time, beyond mystery novels, is The Big Sleep. And what I think there's a lot of things that make that a great novel, but one of the things that make it a great novel is that the central mystery is one that the detective is never actually trying to solve. It's a missing person story, and he's never actually looking for the person who is the missing person. He's told by everyone that he is, but he's not. So there's this huge empty space at the middle of that book, and I think it creates a tremendous amount of tension for the reader. The feeling that things are moving on rails that the reader can't perceive and the characters can't perceive, and that was very much a feeling that I wanted to try to manage in my book.
And I would say that, without giving anything away, that's really one of the driving engines of The Mirror Thief, for all three sort of central protagonists, which I think is really quite wonderful.
Right. I'm glad that seems to be working. So.
Now, what do you think you would want to do next?
That is a great question. It has been it's been a long time getting this one out into the world, and I'm obviously very excited that Melville House is publishing it. I have some other kind of not particularly clearly formed ideas for novels, and it will depend on kind of what takes shape. I've kind of always been enamored of the idea of writing a surrealist novel in sort of the original old sense, wandering through strange cities at night. And because I've never succeeded in reading one of them, so.
Well, this is wandering through strange cities at night.
It is, yeah. I think that it's probably not possible to exhaust wandering through strange cities at night. We're going to find out. So we'll see if that catches fire and turns into something or not. So, cities continues to be an area of interest for me. I'm interested in the ways that the structures of cities and the structures of books can rhyme with each other. So.
In terms of complexity, or?
In terms of complexity, in terms of being a made thing, and the sort of complexities that arrive in the ways that different kinds of agency happens, things will begin to take on lives of their own. We'll see where that goes. It's very early stages at this point. So.
Well, all I can say is that this book is, it's very hard to describe and to encapsulate, and it's something you have to experience. And I sort of want people who see this video to really understand that it's just, you just dive into this book and then you sort of surface out again. And so it's tough talking about it because I don't want to give too much away. There are a lot of Easter eggs in the novel.
Yes, there are.
Did you have a lot of fun planting those in?
Absolutely. There's, various unattributed quotations dropped in. There's, if you want to go through and pay attention to the names of various characters, obviously that will bear fruit. I wanted there to be, one of my favorite blurbs ever is Jonathan Letham's blurb for House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski, which I'll have to paraphrase. Basically, he says that it was impossible to put down or persuasively finish reading, and that's kind of what I set out to do. I tried to write something that would support several readings. You can read it a couple of times and still find things.
You absolutely can. Good. And it's a book where certainly at least one member of the committee got to the end, and she said, "I just picked it up and started all over again." So you should feel really, really good, because I think this is a book that, if it gets into people's hands, it will start to bear fruit, and it will be passed from reader to reader for a long time.
Excellent.
So congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to find that booksellers particularly are connecting with the book. They're the best readers out there, so as we all know. So.
Yes. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emery.